What's up, guys? Stumbled upon this amazingly beautiful video by a World War II veteran, and I'm gonna run the clip for you guys, and then we'll get into it. I thought it was amazing, so let's get into it.
Grateful to you. Thank you.
Don't thank me, and don't say I'm a hero. I'm no hero. I was lucky. I'm here. All the heroes are dead, and I'll never forget them as long as I live. All I know is Normandy veterans love one another beyond the love of women. If you was in a hole in the ground with a boat, you've got to know him. Marvellous men. My generation saved the world, and I'll never forget any of them.
We are great.
Yeah, so that video is very, very special for a lot of reasons. I keep thinking about the older generations compared to the newer generations where we are right now. And I think about how weak we've gotten, how weak society has gotten, how weak men have gotten. Men of the past, men of old, they were warriors, they were brave men. You know, back when feminism was a thing, you know, when it wasn't a thing, and when women were traditional, they served their husbands, and they were submissive because they had strong men. They had men worthy of being submissive too. But then again, inflation wasn't as high as it is today, and things were more affordable back then. The economy was better in that sense. Money was more scarce, and it was possible for a man to provide for a household. But that's besides the point. I just want to talk about the older generations. They were real men. You know, I don't know what happened to us. And it's sad to see what they sacrificed for where we are today. These veterans, these soldiers that, you know, died at war, and some that survived wars but, you know, carried on a bunch of PTSD and a bunch of trauma from these wars, seeing their brothers die, and just witnessing the unspeakable amount of death. You know, they had to suffer through all of that so we can be here today, so we can have our rights and our freedoms. And society has never been this soft, and we have never had life to be as easy as it is right now. Life wasn't easy in the past. Before the modern era, life was horrible. It was brutal, especially for men. Men had to actually go out there and suffer. We still do, but in different ways. Back then it was more of more physical suffering, you know. Life wasn't physically comfortable for men, you know. Today we have different struggles, but, you know, still, I would say our ancestors and the older generations suffered way more than we suffer today. We're privileged. Our suffering today is a privilege, you know. There's a different kind of suffering today, as today, you know, there's a lot of competition in the dating scene, in online business, and all these things. You know, that's the kind of struggle we have today. But I would consider that a privilege compared to the struggle these men had. You know, death, turmoil, trauma, war, blood. I would much rather live through 1,000 years of the struggle that we're witnessing as men today than 1 year of that struggle that they you know, went through. So I think it's important to, you know, be grateful for the older generations and our ancestors, and not just the older generations, but as I said, also our ancestors. You know, imagine our ancestors from the medieval ages. Life during the medieval ages was absolutely fucking brutal. Human life was not even valued. You could see a peasant get executed on the street and get raped on the street and have their entire family killed, and, you know, people wouldn't bat much of an eye. You know, it would be a tragic thing to witness. I would assume. I wasn't there, so I can't know. But people were being killed and raped and slaughtered from left to right. It was just a normal thing in the medieval ages. You know, people just took what they wanted. You know, they, you know, raved villages and killed people living in those villages. You know, they took what they owned and all these things. Like, it was just brutal back then. That's the kind of lives our ancestors had to, you know, survive and had to go through. And today, obviously, we have strict laws that punish people for committing such crimes, which is a good thing. It's a very good thing, because nowadays, you know, life isn't as brutal as it used to be. People are not getting killed from left to right and getting raped in the ways that was kind of like a norm back in the day, in the medieval ages. Shit, I can't even pronounce words. Medieval ages. Of course, rape and killing still exists to this day. I'm not naive. I'm not delusional. It probably exists more so today, considering the population is larger. But I would say it was more of a norm seeing that kind of thing happen, like witnessing that with your own eyes back in the day, than it is today. Most people haven't seen anyone, you know, getting raped and killed, you know, before their eyes. But, you know, back in the day, that was like more of a norm. And I just think about the brutalities our ancestors had to go through, and our, you know, the older generations that they had to go through to make sure that humanity kept going and that humanity survived. And I just love this video. And you know, they fought and they died so we could be here today and have our privileges that we have. And you know, I think it's important to be grateful for our ancestors and the older generations and honor them and make sure that they didn't die for nothing. Make sure that we are strong, and we make sure that society keeps going in the right direction, that we fight injustice, we fight evil, we stand up for ourselves and our families and what is right, and go against what is wrong. Because these men, they died for, you know, to stand up for what's right. They died for their countries, they died for their families. It's up to us men to keep masculinity alive and keep being men and stand for something, because most men these days, they don't stand for anything. And these men, they stood for family, they stood for their countries, they stood for everything that they loved and valued, you know. So yeah, I think it's important for us in these modern ages to honor our ancestors, honor our past generations, to make sure that their actions do not go forgotten and that they did not die for nothing. Unfortunately, with the current agendas we have in today's world, with LGBTQ and all this woke liberal bullshit, unfortunately, they died for a lot of that to be a reality right now. They fought and died to make us as privileged as we are. And that privilege has led to bad things, and it has led to good things. It has led to strict laws of, you know, humanity being more protected and human lives being more valued. So you cannot just go around and kill and rape without serious repercussions. Sure, these things had repercussions back in the day as well, but not to this extent. Especially if you did it to, you know, to peasants in the medieval ages, you know, that like no one gave a shit. Oh, a peasant family just died and got raped before they died. Who cares? Like today, that's not the case. So it has led to stricter laws, but it has also led to a bunch of weakness due to how privileged we are. And that weakness has led to a new world order, new agendas such as the LGBTQ and the woke society. And yeah, and I think the veterans that are still alive to this day, there are not many of them from World War II. I think when they look at that, I think it breaks their heart that is what they died for society to fall as deep as it has. So I think it's important for us to be grateful, to make sure that the actions and the sacrifices of these men, of our ancestors, of the older generations, do not go forgotten, and that we maintain masculinity, that we keep masculinity alive, because there is a war on masculinity, and it is up to us to keep it alive and keep it going to the best of our abilities. We will never be as strong as our ancestors. We will never be as strong as the older generations. It's not possible with the amount of privilege and the amount of opportunities we have. But we can still try to replicate their level of masculinity to the best of our ability and keep masculinity alive and keep strong men prevalent in today's society, which we lack in severely. So yeah, beautiful video. And I think it's, as I said, it's important to be grateful for the men of the past and what they sacrificed and what they had to go through. But yeah, guys, that was it from me guys today. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.